Hello, welcome to today's webinar, Personalizing Your Search Results. This is what we at Squiz think is our search's best kept secret. So this is the third webinar in our three-part webinar series on site search. So be sure to check out the last two if you haven't yet. My name is Davila Thompson. I'm a sales engineer at Squiz based out of Sydney, Australia. I've been working in search for the last 5 years, focusing on implementing new search solutions and optimizing current ones. Personalization is a hot topic right now, so I am excited to implant the idea in your head of what you can do with personalization and your search solution. So I want you to do something. Pick a search engine of your choice. Google is a good starting option. Now think of a friend who is different to you. They might be have a different personality, different consumer choices, different political beliefs, different religious beliefs. So I want each of you to perform a couple of searches and then compare notes. Search for something which polarizes people. Pick a social issue or just Google something like new sites. The chances are you will get very different results. Personalized search results. Results which have been tailored to your specific set of beliefs, interests, demographics. And this is known as the filter bubble. And the filter bubble is a very real phenomenon. While there are some fairly big questions around the social impacts of the filter bubble, one thing is for certain, it pays off. Google keeps your attention and your loyalty. Now, what does this mean for you and your website practically? People no longer expect search results to be just relevant. They expect them to be also personalized. When a prospective student who is in perhaps local or they're in-state and they perform a search for fees, do you think they're anticipating receiving the same information as a student who is international? No, they might be looking for information which is relevant to them and where they are. So why are you setting them the same information in the same search results? In 2021, if you're delivering the same information to every single one of your search users, you're failing short. And customers will reward you with the effort of the personalized experiences as well. 91% of consumers are more likely to shop with brands who recognize, remember, and provide them with relevant offers and recommendations. While consumers or customers may not necessarily shop with you as such, it's clear by their spending habits that they prefer and value personalization on every site that they experience site search with. But here's the thing. Very few people actually personalize the search results on their site. And why is this? Mainly because it's hard. So traditionally, when marketers set out to do personalization, they either go out and purchase an expensive personalization engine, or they switch on the personalization module in the CMS. But these platforms, they are great at delivering simple binary search results. If condition X is met, show content variation of X, right? Or if a persona equals X, then show content X. One example is also showing a specific banner image to an international student coming in from an IP address from a specific country. You can identify it. They don't do well at complex personalization scenarios where we're looking at reordering and prioritizing things based on what we know about the user. In other words, a list of search result pages. And I'll repeat that again, that the personalization module in your CMS or your personalization engine won't personalize your search results. And if you think about it, that's pretty crazy because 43% of users use search when they first hit a website. And oftentimes they're really valuable site users. So just remember that this webinar is technically and technology agnostic. So while we're talking about principles and approaches here, no matter which search tool, you should be able to use these with your search tool or the CMS that you have it integrated with. You could use these principles right away. If you can't deliver this with your existing search technology, you should talk to us at Squiz because we do have some options available for you. Now, before you deliver personalization, there are some early decisions that need to be made, starting with why you're doing it. In most personalization projects, it's because you're looking to achieve a goal, getting people to do more or less of something. So the first thing you need to do to decide is, what do you want people doing more or less of? In other words, what is the specific metrics you're looking at? It should be something meaningful, like the number of students who successfully enroll at a university. Then you need to have a plan for measuring success. How will you know if you're being successful or not? There is a problem here, though. In a lot of organizations, customers don't sign up or transact right through the website, but they rather go through some sort of online portal, which is skinned up to look like your website. And their data is held in that third-party system. So just using Google Analytics alone can sometimes be insufficient in measuring that success. You need to get your hands on that data in the third-party system to know how many people have completed the action you want them to take. So you need to have a plan for how you're going to access this data, and this is a good time to talk to your developers about this. The third step is to determine who your personas are. Who are you personalizing the search results for? Are they international students, in-state students, out-of-state students? Are they postgraduates or researchers? Once you know that metric that you're trying to impact, this is usually an easy decision to make. Then you need to decide how will you identify your segments. The most straightforward way is to simply ask them. Amazon does this really simply. If you're physically in one country, which has an Amazon store, say, for example, Germany, but you're looking at the website for a different Amazon country, for example, the UK, it just asks you, do you want to switch to the other site? But you can also infer this information. For example, if people are coming from an IP address, which is in a different country or state, or if they're on campus, you automatically redirect them to where they need to be. And now you need to decide how you're going to deliver that personalization. When it comes to personalizing search results, we have at Squiz, we've got 3 ways you can do this, which we've grouped under the categories of easy, a bit less easy, and reasonably sophisticated. The good news is that if you're using our funnelback product, most of the things that we're going to show you are out of the box. And in the case of the sophisticated option where we're using third-party data, you can automate this with Squiz Connect. But here's the caveat. Personalization is hard. Most marketers fail to see any form of return from it. In fact, Gartner found most marketers who have invested in personalization will abandon their efforts, about 80%. And why is this? So we think this is partly because marketers try and personalize everything for everyone and at every stage of the customer journey using that customer data. And this is an enormous job and simply too difficult. It requires too much effort to manage all of these personalization rules and too many resources to create the necessary content. So we're going to focus on doing things which are simple, scalable, and effective. So let's start with the definition of personalization. Generally, when you want to do personalization, you're typically trying to do one of these 3 things. With customization, you're allowing people to customize their experience in some way. A good example of this is a student portal, where people are dragging their apps around or signing up to see information from their courses or their favorite sports teams at the campus. And this is all driven by the user. Optimization happens automatically. This is where site content changes over time until it lands on the optimum content for that user or that persona. And then we've got segmentation, which is about prioritizing content or including or excluding content exclusively for that particular segment. For example, if it's a university, we're only going to show the law content to students in the law segment. We're going to start off talking about segmentation, and then we're going to move on to optimization. Now, a good search tool will allow you to manually promote specific search results based on a set of rules, which is the simplest way to get started delivering personalization to each persona. In Funnelback, we call this the curator. There are a range of rules available, and while they will differ across tools, generally the easiest to get started with for personalization are based on geography and URL parameters. So we'll start with geography. If you have specific content for site users from a specific country, or for overseas site users more generally, then this is often the simplest rule to implement. If someone comes to your website from an IP address which is overseas or from a specific country in your search results page, you should then be able to choose that one or more pages should be promoted to the top of the search results position. For example, pages relevant to their search term which have been translated to their language, or information about fees or prerequisites for students coming from that particular country. The second easiest rule to implement uses URL parameters. This enables marketers to personalize search results to users who have come in from specific campaigns. So let's look at a practical example of this. If you're running a marketing campaign and you're directing users from an ad to a landing page on your site, You can track the user using what is known as a unique tracking module, sometimes known as a UTM parameter, which you can see in this URL here. With a good search tool, as visitors arrive to the search and are identified as having come in from this campaign, such as UTM campaign equals undergraduate. A good search tool should be able to factor this into the search results and personalize the search results according to a visitor's associated campaign. So if a user has come in from the campaign and they've been targeted as an international undergraduate student. Now, when the user comes to your website and searches for fees, the first place search result should be the fees for international undergraduate students. In this way, your search results are able to amplify the effect of your marketing campaigns. And one thing to note here is that it is manual curation for this part. So your content or your marketing team are choosing which pages you want to appear in the top position of each of these search terms. It relies on human effort, and that's why it's often the easiest way to get started. Okay, so we've just talked about personalization for people who are coming from particular locations and from particular campaigns. Now, how do you begin to move past this and start personalizing for specific personas or segments, which are perhaps not quite so clear-cut? Generally, the easiest method is to upweight the search results that match specified search terms that you think your specific segment would be more interested in. But you do this without changing the set of matching search results that they have in the first place. So how does this work? Imagine for a second that you are a bank and you offer a bunch of different credit cards. You have one maybe for kids called credit card for kids, maybe one for people in the median incomes called the everyday card, maybe it's a Visa card, and one which you offer to your customers who have a high net worth called the platinum card. You also have a bunch of different website personas for your bank, which map to the different products. So there might be a high net worth persona, a kids persona, that median income persona. So when someone comes to your site and their persona or segment is high net worth value, they're a high net worth individual, when they search for a credit card, you want to reorder the results so that the platinum credit card is their #1 result. But they might be looking to get a credit card for their child. So you don't want to necessarily hide the option, the research result that shows that it's credit card for kids. You just don't want it at the top. So what are we doing here? We're upweighting the most relevant result to the persona. Now, each search platform will have a different way of doing this. In Funnelback, using the curator and configuring it so that when someone comes to the website and their persona equals that high net worth value, we're adding the additional search term platinum. So all credit card results that match platinum will be upweighted. Now, the overall search result set won't be expanded to include other pages that might just mention platinum in their content. We're only reordering the search results that match the original search terms. Now, what are the benefits of this approach? So there are two main benefits that we go through. Firstly, these rules are really easy to implement, and you can start with one or two. See whether they give you an uplift in terms of the metrics you're tracking, and then iteratively make changes in this fashion over time. In addition, we're not hiding anything. We're only just reordering content. So the user experience will never degrade. If they really are looking for that credit card for their kids, they can still find it in the search results. And no additional content needs to be created. The content will only be promoted if it's there. So you can improve your personalization over time rather than needing everything to be done at once. These are really important points. Generally, personalization projects require huge amounts of content to be created and require a lot of effort to implement the personalization rules and the tools that you're using. This approach mitigates each of those issues. You don't need to create any new content, and the rules are simple and quick to implement. So if you've captured some information about your site user and stored that in your CRM or some other accessible system, then we can also use this to personalize the search experience. So for example, if the user is a customer and we have stored some information about them in the CRM, then we can use that information to personalize their search experience. Or we can implement something known as collection level security or data source level security. This provides the capability to control which indexes of your search are accessible to those specific search segments. So an example might be, there might be information that you only want available to staff on your public facing website, So when staff are searching your website, they can access those more secure documents, which are meant for their eyes only, but from the same single search interface. But similar sorts of lessons apply here as well to customers. Let's say that you have information which is only relevant to customers. So this might be, an example would be updates, which only customers should see. If you have both customers and non-customers searching your website, you can identify which site user is a customer and then include those special search results which only the customer can see. The benefit here is that you're giving everyone the same exact search bar to use, but you're exposing to people only the information which they are supposed to see. This allows you to personalize your search experience based on the privileges of each user. Again, this should be completely achievable in any of your search tools. And okay, this is our bonus round where we stop talking about search results for a second and start talking about site content using your site search in an unexpected way. Amazon doesn't personalize your site experience in the way that you might expect. You might think that with their resources and with all the data they have on us, that if you search for best gift for 40-year-old brother-in-law, and I search for best gift for 40-year-old brother-in-law, we're going to get different search results. But it doesn't matter what religion, gender, or race we are going to get the same search results. Isn't that interesting? So what is this e-commerce giant doing to drive sales with search and personalization? They're actually constantly engineering their site search results to be more and more relevant to the search term. But they are also providing increasingly relevant and high performance recommendations on the page itself. So if you go onto Amazon, click on a product, you will then see multiple carousels featuring similar products. These are products which are similar to the product which you are currently looking at, or they're products which people have viewed your current product at and also bought these other products. Amazon wants to make it easy for you to keep clicking around the site and keep exploring relevant related topics and products within their site. So if Amazon is doing something, I guess it's a good idea to take notice and think about, how does this apply to me in my own website? Just like Amazon recommends a list of related pages, so can Funnelback. This is where we start talking about the optimization function of a good search engine, where site content changes over time until it lands on the optimum content for that user or that persona. Now, this is reasonably advanced functionality, so if you're going to determine for yourself whether your search engine offers this, you have to decide now. But if you're using just a plain old built-in CMS search tool, the answer is probably no, and you don't have it currently. In Funnelback, and hopefully in your own search tool as well, there is the ability to recommend a list of items that are believed to be related to a given seed item. So for example, it might recommend a list of URLs that were clicked on in the same search sessions as the seed URL, the URL that you're currently looking at, or recommend a list of products that were frequently purchased in the same session as a given product. The main source of information for the recommender system at Funnelback would be queries and click logs, which record information on which queries users submitted and which results they eventually clicked on from those queries and search terms. The good news is that these logs will be processed automatically, and no special configuration should be needed to set this recommendation system up. You should be able to just literally turn it on, and the actions of your user takes care of the rest. And best of all, Funnelback keeps it current. By default, only query and click records from the last 60 days will be taken into account when processing the logs. And if a page is removed from the search index, it won't appear at all. So if you've made it through to the end and you're thinking, okay, this scares me a little, or I'm not sure if my search tool can do this, and if it's worthwhile investigating a new one, just remember that there's value in getting this right. 91% of consumers are more likely to shop with brands who recognize, remember, and provide them with relevant offers and recommendations, according to the survey done by Accenture. And while customers may not shop with you, like we mentioned earlier, it's clear that by looking at their spending habits that they do prefer and value personalization. And Alan Etkin from British Columbia Institute of Technology in Canada showed that and noted that site search users are 5 times as valuable as people who don't search. They're driven to find something in particular, and your job is to connect them with it as quickly as possible. So what can you do right now to get ready for personalization? Well, you can go back through our 5 steps, starting and with that decision of why you're doing it, what goal are you looking to achieve, What are you trying to get people to do more or less of? Determine what that specific metric is that you're looking to impact. Then create your plan for measuring success. Map out which system holds the data which you need to get your hands on to determine whether you're shifting the needle on that metric. Talk to your developers about how you're going to access this data. And that third step is to determine who your personas are. Who are you personalizing the search results for? Once you know the metric you're trying to impact, this is usually an easy decision to make. Then you need to decide, how will you identify your segments? Remember, the most straightforward way is to simply ask them like Amazon does, but you can also do some things with rules based on location or whether they come in from a specific campaign. Then decide how you're going to deliver your website search personalization. And we outline those 3 ways you can do it: manually curating the results, upweighting search results based on specific persona information, or fetching information from your CRM or some other third-party system. And finally, don't forget that you might be able to optimize your site content over time, just like Amazon. And that's all I've got for you today. So thanks so much for joining this webinar, and please reach out to us if you want to talk about personalization on your site search.